Welcome back, guys. It's Thomas, and I wanted to take the month of May to explore nothing but Star Wars. Star Wars is probably one of the biggest franchises that gave us some of the most amazing toys. And on this episode, we're looking at 14 of the most amazing Star Wars playsets ever made. Hopefully I keep everyone's attention, but I want to talk about some of those awesome Star Wars playsets that I think stood the test of time and are still some of our favorite playsets to this day. Now, unfortunately, the last few years have been lacking in Star Wars playsets, and I'm not counting any HasLabs or any vintage collection because those are more for the adult collector, but I want to go back in time to the playsets that were awesome and they were made for kids, so they were still just as good, and I wish we still had them coming out, but unfortunately, now if you want to collect vintage collection, you're paying top dollar. So let's look back at some of those awesome Star Wars playsets, starting with number 14. Now, the sequels didn't give us much good, but what they did give us was one of the last great playsets that was actually marketed towards kids and probably adult collectors at the time. And that was 2017's BB-8 2-in-1 Mega Playset by Hasbro. Now, this was released alongside The Last Jedi, and it had a cool scene on the inside which looked like whatever the modern day Death Star was. I forgot what it was called because I barely rewatched that movie. But it had awesome features. It had a trapdoor, electronic sounds, a cannon, and it had a collapsible bridge. But the main gimmick of this playset was that it came with the Force Link. This was a gauntlet that you wore on your wrist, and you can activate certain actions or noises by putting the gauntlet close up to the playset. And when you were done playing with it, you can close it, and it was a BB-8 figure that also had electronic noises and sounds. Credit where credit's due, at least they gave us this cool playset. And let's jump over to the prequels, where we actually did get a few playsets that are noteworthy. Now, this one doesn't have a lot of action in it, and you're probably gonna think it's pretty boring, but I think the concept of it is cool and they executed it well. And that goes to Hasbro's 2004 screen scene of the Jedi High Council. Now, this was a set of 6 different 3-packs that you could put together that would complete the actual Jedi Council. It had 18 figures, and there really wasn't much you can do with it. You can sit all the Jedi on their chairs and then have Anakin in the middle. So I guess you can recreate that scene from the movie, but this is a concept that I wish held true even to this day. Instead of getting Build-A-Figures, I wish we got Build-A-Dioramas, because how cool would that be in something like the Black Series or Marvel Legends? Instead of a piece to build another figure, we got a piece to build a diorama for those figures. So for what it is, I'm putting it on the list. Now, having a Millennium Falcon was always awesome in your Star Wars collection, but the Millennium Falcon is a vehicle, and it did open up to some play scenes, but a play set that I think some people forget is the Millennium Falcon CD-ROM battle scene. Now, Kenner released this in 1998 and was pretty much the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon. You could put your figures like Han Solo and Chewbacca there, and then it did come with a CD-ROM that you can play on screen in front of your playset to make it look like you were actually flying through space. It used actual footage from Star Wars so you can actually feel like you were in the movie, which I always thought was super cool. I never had this, but it was definitely one that I remember seeing commercials for and thinking it was awesome. So if you had this, let me know down in the comments. Was this fun to play with? Was it a dumb gimmick? It always looked cool to me. Now, keeping up with the screen scenes, there was another action figure line that had that collect and connect diorama aspect, and that was the Saga Collection from Hasbro in 2006 of the Mos Eisley Cantina. Now, each one of these sets came with a piece of the Cantina bar, and you would be able to connect them. And again, this was just sold as a deluxe figure. You had the figure, and then you had the pieces of the diorama set within it as just a deluxe price. And this was awesome. I wish we got more of these, maybe one day, but this was also cool. I know we've gotten the HasLab Cantina years later, but I'll always remember this one being super cool and super cheap. Now, I've mentioned this next one as one of the greatest 90s playsets, but also as one of the greatest 80s playsets, and that is the Ewok Village. And we know in the 90s, the Ewok Village was repurposed for Prince of Thieves. I've mentioned that multiple times on the show, but we're talking specifically about Kenner's 1983 release. And what else more is there to say? It's a cool treehouse. It came with working elevators, the fire pit, C-3PO's throne, and this one's just a classic. So good. They had to remake it again a few years later for something different, but it will always truly be a Star Wars action figure playset. This next one was the largest playset that I ever had. That was Hasbro's 1999 release of the Naboo Royal Starship. I absolutely love this thing. It was 3.5 feet long and it was all silver. It looked really cool when it was just closed up as the actual spaceship, but then you can open it up to the cockpit and recreate some of those scenes from Episode 1. It had the ramp so you can show your figures boarding the actual ship. You can put your pilot there, and then it came with a destroyed piece of the hyperdrive, an exclusive R2 droid. There was an escape pod, which wasn't in the movie, but I guess you had to add a little more fun to this playset. But one of my favorite aspects of this playset was the RFID technology. It actually came with a Vulture droid and a trigger that if you pointed towards the starship, it would explode a piece of the paneling. And this was one of my favorite things to do. Just have those panels on there, hit the button, and they would explode. It was awesome. One of my favorite scenes to recreate from any Star Wars movie was from the original trilogy and Empire Strikes Back, the Battle of Hoth. And we got some awesome Hoth playsets. In 1980, Kenner released the Turret and Probot playset, and it came with a simple white snowy base, but then you got the turret, which if you turned it, it would make all this cool clicking noises, and then the Probot, which would come apart, and if you wanted to make believe it was getting destroyed, you could. So that one was cool, but then we got another one. In that same year, Kenner released the Imperial Attack Base. This was meant to be for your snowtroopers, but you could use it either way. I think it fit better with your Hoth Rebel troopers. It came with a cannon, an exploding bridge. Now, as a 90s kid, I always wished they remade these for Power of the Force 2. Unfortunately, they didn't, but we did get another cool playset. The Hoth playset came with the exploding shield generators. The base piece was modular, so you can kind of move it around. It came with a turret, and then it came with some features that would catapult your figures if there was a fake explosion. But again, if you had all three of these playsets, the Imperial Attack Base, the Probot and Turret Base, and then the Hoth playset, imagine putting that in the snow with your AT-AT walkers, your snow speeders, your tauntauns. All three of these would make up my dream action figure playset setup. With the release of Episode 1 in 1999, the merchandising went crazy, so we did get a lot of playsets for the movie. Hasbro released the Theed Hangar in 1999. Now this was a cool playset. It was a little flimsy, but you did get to recreate some of the scenes from Episode 1, which was the final battle, Duel of Fates. It came with a catwalk that would actually fall down, so you can have your battle droid up on there and then pull this lever and then it would crash down. The door slid open, you can have Darth Maul coming through to meet Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. And probably one of the coolest features, or probably one of the gimmicks that hurt this playset, was the spinning Qui-Gon feature. You had a lightsaber handle that would go on the inside of the playset, and you would put Qui-Gon on the little peg, and then you would press the button and he would just spin around like crazy, taking out some battle droids. And it was a fun gimmick. Unfortunately, it made the base a little too weak, but it was still cool to set up. Even if you didn't want to use it for the lightsaber duel, you can park a Naboo starfighter in the hangar and just have it displayed like that. And if you had the Theed Hangar, you probably also did want the Theed generator complex. This was truly the final scene where Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are fighting Darth Maul, and it more or less tries to recreate what you actually see on screen. You don't have any of the shield generators part of the playset, which I think they could have incorporated, but they did put some catapult features on there where you could put a character onto the base and then hit the switch and it would fly, or it was supposed to do. I don't think it ever really worked well. And then you can make all of the pieces of the control just kind of pop off and get destroyed. So it was kind of cool if you had both playsets to put together. Are these the greatest playsets ever made? I don't know, but they still were a lot of fun. 2005, with the release of Revenge of the Sith, we did get one playset by Hasbro, and that was the Mustafar Final Duel playset. And this was fun. It was pretty much shaped like a volcano. It had a bunch of lava rocks that would explode. It had collapsing electronical equipment that was pretty cool, scaffolding. And then you had these two discs that you can put exclusive Obi-Wan and Anakin figures on to have their final duel. So it was an iconic scene from the movie, and I do wish we got some more, but this one was a cool, epic final fight, so we did get the playset from that. Now, most Star Wars collectors would probably say that this is the best Star Wars playset ever made, and that is Kenner's 1978 Death Star. If there's ever a playset that deserved a remake with Power of the Force 2, I think it was the Death Star, but the 1978 playset holds up. Top level featured a giant cannon for your stormtrooper. Then the middle level had different layers where you can put the characters on different levels and catwalks, and a control room. But then the bottom was probably my favorite, which was the trash compactor scene with some foam pieces of trash. So I think this is part of the generational divide, probably for original Star Wars vintage collectors. This is the best Star Wars playset, but it's not the favorite on my list. Some honorable mentions, because I wanted to put these on there. First, you're probably wondering why the Palatoy Death Star was not on my list. I don't think it's a good playset. But this honorable mention goes to any of the cardboard playsets where at least they were trying. So in 1978, a UK company called Palatoy released a cardboard Death Star, which did depict some of the scenes from the actual movie. You had the trash room, you had a catwalk, which was pretty cool, but it pretty much just had these graphics on it that looked very of the times. But at the time, you probably thought this was an awesome playset. Years later, Kenner would release some cardboard playsets of their own of Jabba's palace and the cantina. These were cool, but again, they weren't that cool. It was just fun to set up this cardboard diorama, put your action figures there, and it was passable for a scene from the movie. So if you had these, I'm sure you like them. I'm sure they were very frustrating when they started to peel, but at least they tried to give us something where we can put our figures in and recreate some of the movie. Power of the Force 2 was kind of cheap on what they offered as playsets, but you might have had a good time with some of these. Now, these are what I would call more vignettes than full playsets or dioramas. You got one very individual scene from a movie. In 1997, Kenner gave us the detention block rescue where Han and Chewie and Luke go to save Leia. Really just a small scene, not much you could do with it. You had the Death Star escape, which featured Luke and Leia swinging from one end to the other. Again, iconic scene. Was the playset that much fun? I don't think so. Then you had the Endor attack playset, which was cool. I bet if you had the Ewok village from the 80s, you compare it with this little base doorway from Power of the Force 2, and then you could create a whole Endor scene. But by itself, it was not that great, but still fun. Now, I will stick to my guns and say that this is the best Star Wars playset ever. I made a whole video just talking about how this playset is better than anything else Star Wars ever produced, and that is the Geonosis Battle Arena. This came out in 2002 by Hasbro alongside Attack of the Clones, and I'm going to try to list all the reasons why this thing is the best playset. To recap that video, I'll also put that video at the end of this one so you can go watch that. But use force perspective to make it feel like it was actually bigger than it was. You can combine two of these playsets to put together to make an even bigger battle arena. They sold deluxe figures that came with base pieces that would actually complement this playset. And you can army build with so many things on this playset. You can do the droid factory in the back, you can do the war room, you can do the Geonosians, the creatures, the battle droids, destroyer droids, super battle droids. And this is the first scene where we ever got to see that many Jedi on screen, and Attack of the Clones action figures produced so many Jedi. So in your focal point of the collection, you can have this gigantic battle, which you can't have with any other setup than the Geonosis battle scene. So for that, I'm putting that at number 1 as the best Star Wars playset ever made. Alright folks, hopefully that last one didn't hurt anyone's feelings. That's just my opinion. I know the general consensus is the Death Star is probably the best playset, but for me, it's the Geonosis Battle Arena. Hope you enjoyed this episode, folks. Happy Star Wars month, or May the 4th, May the 5th, whatever you celebrate. And until the next episode, we'll catch you next time.